Now that Joe Biden appears to be the front runner in the Democratic primary, and keep in mind the Democratic primary is not over yet, the Republicans have decided to start their attacks, and they have become incredibly vicious because Joe Biden is a target-rich environment. Now, if some of you are wondering what I mean by that, journalist Walker Bragman put together this compilation video that'll show you exactly what I mean.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing. Tomorrow's Superstar Tuesday. All right, Chuck. Thank you very much.
All right, it's Chris, but anyway.
Chris. My name's Joe Biden. I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate. Look me over. If you like what you see, help out. If not, vote for the other Biden. I love this place. Look, what's not to like about Vermont? One of the things I'm proudest of is getting passed, getting moved, getting control of the Paris Climate Accord. I'm the guy that came back after meeting with Deng Xiaoping and making the case that I believe China would join if we put pressure on them. You had people like you had people like the former chairman and leader of the party in Germany. Go to Joe 30330. Watch what happened when those kids from Parkland came up to see me when I was vice president. They went and some of you covered it.
So Biden tells this story, or some version of it, a lot. He says that, he went on this military trip and it was dangerous, but he wanted to go anywhere. And he goes to the Konar province of Afghanistan, and he hears about how this man had climbed down into a ravine to rescue a fallen soldier. And he comes back up and he doesn't want to get this medal because he feels so heartbroken that his fellow comrade has fallen. That's about 3 different really heroic war stories, all kind of pushed together into one anecdote.
Joe Biden has made all sorts of statements about his activism in the civil rights movement. Now, in the beginning of his career, he made similar statements that he's making today on the campaign trail, and then he got caught lying. And for a huge chunk of his political career, he stopped telling those lies.
This day, 30 years ago, Nelson Mandela walked out of prison and entered into discussions about apartheid. I had the great honor of meeting him. I had the great honor of being arrested with our UN ambassador on the streets of Soweto. The only African-American woman that ever been elected to the United States Senate. A whole range of people.
No,
my point is
that's not true. The other one is here.
Play the radio. Make sure the television. Make sure you have the record player on at night.
So that will be the situation on the debate stage in the general election. If he becomes the Democratic nominee, he will be up against Donald Trump, who I've said a million times, I get it, he's not some brilliant, intelligent guy, but he's vicious. And he is able to form complete sentences without forgetting what he's talking about, without having the type of stumbles that you just saw in that lengthy video compilation.
Yeah, it's not 1 or 2 times. Look, I don't care what the mainstream media says about anything, and certainly not this. It's impolite to point out that Joe Biden is having significant issues with his mental faculties. Do you think Trump is going to be polite to him? Do you think the Republican Party is going to be polite to him? No, they're going to rip him apart in the general election. Last night, after his victory, he said, "Now this is my little sister Valerie," and pointed to his wife. No, we're having significant mental faculties issues, okay? We are. So they're not wrong to bring up senility. What is going on? He's gonna vote for the other Biden. I mean, he doesn't know which state he's in. He doesn't know what the hell's going on. And this is the guy that the establishment thinks is definitely gonna beat Trump. But Bernie, who does so well with independents, can't beat Trump? Makes no sense at all. No, we're gonna point it out that all those things that he said there were really problematic. Walker's right to put together the video, and I don't care what anybody says about it. That's the reality of Joe Biden, and it is a big problem, and he will lose to Donald Trump. We can't have it.
This is out of control. Like, how much have we as a country lowered the bar for qualifications to become president? Because let's say in the ideal scenario, if Biden becomes the Democratic nominee, right? So first of all, I don't think that he'd have an easy time beating Trump, but let's say best case scenario, he does. Is everyone okay with Biden being president of the United States when he's having difficulty remembering the name of, politicians that he'd be dealing with on a regular basis when he has a hard time remembering which state he's in. We can't remember the Declaration of Independence. That's a huge issue, right? So even in the best case scenario, we're in a lot of trouble with him leading the country. Well, and by the way, like, we're having a discussion about whether or not this is polite. I don't care. This is to choose the right person to lead the country for at least 4 years.
Yeah. Now the establishment's having a conversation. To be fair, everybody's having a conversation of, oh, well, look, if Biden picks a really good, smart, young, able vice president, might be okay. Wait, so our backup plan is to pick a good vice president for the senile president?
No, but that's not even our backup plan. We don't get to pick who the vice president is, right?
Yeah.
So our best hope is that someone who we did not elect will end up being the leader of the country if something happens to Biden. Is that what we want, really?
Look, we just saw the 25th Amendment has almost no chance of ever being used. Donald Trump, you could have easily made a case for the 25th Amendment, and I did over and over again. And you remember the oranges of that story. So, I mean, the guy says unbelievable things, not just stupid things, mixing up words like oranges and origins over and over and over again. And they thought it was a coup to do the 25th Amendment. No, if you got a senile president, you got a senile president. It's over, right? And that's your good case scenario. The bad case scenario is his senility cost us the election, and the monster Donald Trump is back in office, who's both arguably senile and malicious.
And I think that would be the most likely scenario if Biden were to be the Democratic nominee. In fact, the attacks have begun. Yesterday, we spoke about how Donald Trump has began attacking Biden on Twitter. Someone in his campaign put together their own compilation video. Trump's campaign manager just tweeted out another compilation video showing all of these gaffes and mistakes that Biden has made on the campaign trail. And then you have a conversation that included Brit Hume. Yes, he's into the latex vixens. But he also makes a really good point here, even though his panel is like, oh no, this is inappropriate. But listen to what he says, because he's right.
There are two kinds of Biden gaffes. They're the kind he's always made.
Correct.
And maybe this one tonight was one of those. He's prone to that and always has been. It's no big deal. But more recently, we've seen cases in which he didn't know where he was. He didn't know.
Well, listen, Chuck over here has some things to say about
that. Those are more disturbing because they suggest that he may be non-compass menace, or at least, or he's headed in that direction.
But that's the way it is with voters with Joe Biden.
But how many of the people who voted for him tonight would agree that he's senile or getting there?
Wow,
I think that's a little.
Yeah, I don't think they would think he was senile. I think that's a little harsh. Hey, that's Joe. We know Joe. Joe knows us as Jim Clyburn said.
It doesn't matter if he knows where he is or not.
Well, no, of course. Okay, all right. I don't think that.
We're going to wrap it up there.
No, but so look, I actually, even though it's Fox, they're still in the club.
Yeah,
so what Brit Hume is saying is a legitimate question. And they're like, whoa, Joe Biden's in the club. By the way, will they turn around during the general election? Guaranteed. If Biden's the nominee, every one of those people except Juan Williams will then turn around and go, well, we can't have it. But right now, when you mention, like, whoa. But Brit Hume is also right to point out two different kinds of gaffes. Biden's always made gaffes, like talking about how every 7-Eleven and Dunkin' Donuts has someone who's Indian or has an Indian accent in Delaware. That's a gaffe. That's a thing you shouldn't say as a politician.
Or as anyone.
Right, confusing New Hampshire for Vermont when you're in a important election in New Hampshire is totally different. Confusing your wife for your sister is totally different. That's not a gaffe. That is potential issues of senility. And Juan Williams' argument here makes good arguments overall, but not this one. He's like, no, people will say we know Joe. Yeah, I mean, I've known a lot of close family members and family friends who wound up having issues with remembering things, right? And I knew them, but then they couldn't remember anyone, including me. So that's very sad, but probably a lot of you have gone through that. As much as you love that person, would you have that person be the candidate against Trump or the president of the United States? Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.